All right, it's Holden. It's JSU. It's final countdown up to lock. What's up, boys and girls? Hope everybody's having a good time. I went downstairs, got a little bit of coffee, came back upstairs. And what did you tell me, JSU? What did you just tell me?
Yeah, Calvin Ridley ruled out. Big news. So they're saying it's a personal matter. He's going to be out. He was going to be popular today. I didn't have much of him, but yeah, if you got Ridley, get him out of your lineups now. Gonna have to pivot.
Yep. Jamal Williams is out too. So
Oof.
I wonder what that does for Swift now. Is this just do we go back and got to get Swift in there too? I don't want to change everything, but
No, I don't want to change everything either, but this was already a great matchup for Swift. I loved it last week. No one was on Jacobs. I love Josh Jacobs in this matchup. He was destroying in the first half, and then obviously he hurt his chest. He had to come out of the game. Kenyon Drake looked great against Philly too. It just was like, take one guy out, plug in the next guy, and he was still running good. So I expect DeAndre Swift to have a good game. They already feed him a ton in the passing game. Now we're just kind of getting more of those locked in carries from DeAndre Swift, where most of these games we've seen DeAndre Swift being between like 10 and 14 carries in a game. I think we're getting like 16 to 18 now, maybe 20. So we're upping his touch count, I think. And the targets are always there with Swift. We know this. I mean, 11, 5, 7, 6, 6, 7, 10. The guy gets work in the passing game. So I think that's what it means to me. Personally, is just we're going to see a little more work from Swift in the running game with Jamal Williams out, because that's what they were using Williams for.
Yeah, I think that's huge news. I really do. The Williams thing actually might get overlooked a little bit. To be perfectly honest with you, he was already good. But here's who we got out right now then. Corey Davis is out. I don't know why I started with Corey Davis, by the way. Julio's out. Dawson Knox is out. Peoples-Jones is out. Ridley is out. Williams is out. And I mean, like at this point, let's talk about a little bit more about the Falcons then. Because Pitts has been going ape shit. This is what we thought he should be doing from week one. Russell Gage got some work. He came back last week and had a nice little game. And then the other guy would be Cordero Patterson. So there's two of these guys could go off, JSU. How do we want to handle this here?
Yeah. So I think that Kyle Pitts just makes the obvious most sense. I guess like Cordero Patterson probably gets a bump. Russell Gage definitely gets a bump. I think it's just more my issue with this game in general. I didn't really like this game to start, and now I wasn't going to have much of either side, and now I'm kind of forcing myself to think more about, okay, do I want to play on FanDuel? Do I want to play like Rob Gronkowski or TJ Hawkinson over Kyle Pitts when there's a $300 to $600 gap, whereas on DK, at least we're talking $1,000 gap, 900 to 1,000, maybe for Gronk, it's 1,500 or something like that between Pitts and those guys. You know what I mean? So it's a little, it makes it a little harder to not play Pitts now on FanDuel, I think, at that price.
It is. Gosh. Yeah, I'm not going to go back and blow my lineups up at this point, but
I think Swift, though, is the guy. I think you're right about
I love
Swift because you're just upping the touch count for a guy who's already getting 20 plus, almost 20 touches really each week in different varieties, passing game and run game. And now you're saying to me, okay, you're taking Jamal Williams off the field. In 4 of his last, I think, 5 games, Jamal Williams has seen 12 to 14 carries in the run game. So you're taking all those touches from Jamal Williams, unless you think a backup's just going to come in and take all of that work, which I don't think will happen. Like I don't see the backup coming in and doing the full Jamal Williams, taking all that work. That means that some of that work has to be going to Swift, in my opinion.
This doesn't knock Hawkinson out of your core, does it?
No, I love TJ Hawkinson.
Okay.
I love him. So he was not healthy for a few weeks recently, but we've seen the targets go back up. He had a low, if you remember, to start the year, he was like the best, right? He was like the tight end to have. The first 2 weeks, he was dominant, had 11 and 9 targets in the first 2 weeks, scored 21 and 16 FanDuel points, touchdowns in both weeks. Since then, he hasn't had a touchdown. Look at the targets kind of dropped off in the middle there. 2, 8, 3 weeks 3 through 5. And now we're starting to see the targets go up back to 11 and 9 the last 2 weeks. Still hasn't gotten in the box yet, but I think this is a much better matchup against Philly. We saw Monroe, or however you say his name.
Foster Moreau.
Step in for Darren Waller, and boom, catches a touchdown, had a nice little game there. I think TJ Hawkinson's in a really good spot here for volume, and I think he does have a chance to catch a touchdown. I think the way the Eagles play, they're going to give up more of those shorter and through over the middle passes, and I think that's where TJ Hawkinson's going to come in big here, especially with no Jamal Williams. It's really focused, I think, on TJ, DeAndre Swift, and maybe to a lesser extent Khalif Raymond, who I think I'm not gonna play. I just rather play those two guys. But this offense is made around those two, so I'm gonna be heavier on those two. I think I'm gonna up my Swift a little bit more. It's not gonna take TJ off my DraftKings core. I want to look at my FanDuel core real quick and see what I can get with Kyle Pitts, because that might be the core that I update.
Well, I'm trying to fit Swift into your core. And here's what I'm a little concerned about: Hawkinson and Swift in the same lineup, just in case it doesn't go well.
That's what I'm concerned about too, because I might end up playing Swift in my core. The one thing I do love is like Swift's price tag puts him ahead of all of these guys. Listen to this list right here: Darrell Henderson, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, James Robinson. Those are some pretty damn good running backs I just said to you there. And DeAndre Swift on DK at least is ahead of all of them. He's 7.1K. That's more expensive than all those guys I just said. And those are really, really good spots. I mean, Joe Mixon's in a absolutely great spot. Darrell Henderson, James Robinson, I think, is the best running back on the entire slate. And I don't know why he's not I wrote it up in my slate. If you haven't read my slate plan, I said it on the Wednesday show. I don't know why people aren't realizing this matchup against Seattle. The Seattle cannot cover running backs out in space. Teams are getting the running backs the ball in space. They're using them more in the passing game because they're obviously seeing them get exposed this way. And James Robinson's going to have it. On top of it, the snap counts are going up for him. He's got 82% snap count the last week. So Carlos Hyde is fading out of this offense. Thank God they're phasing him out, or it seems like they're phasing him out. James Robinson's going up in that aspect too. So you give me one of the best matchups with a guy who I think is a pretty talented running back, whose snap counts are going up. Look at what he's done production-wise the last 3 weeks. His production has been great last 3 or 4 weeks. Arizona, Cincinnati, Tennessee, Miami. He's gotten 15, 18, 18, 17 attempts in the running game. He's got some passing work in there, 25, 20, 24, and 19 fantasy points. This dude looks like he's had touchdowns in all of those games. This seems like a smash spot for James Robinson, and I think because of the range he's in, he's not going to get the ownership love that he would on a normal slate with all these guys.
You mentioned him with Henderson. Henderson's going to be super owned, and he's 500 more on FanDuel. Wow.
Yep.
That's big. If you're just joining us again, the biggest news that just popped, and it's big news, it's really big news, is that there's no Calvin Ridley. He's out. He is out today. And then Jamal Williams is out with the Lions. And those are the two big ones. The inactive's obviously out right now. And I will continue to read them off once we find more of this news. But outside of that, wow. Beckham is playing today. Odell is playing. T.Y. Hilton is playing. That's big. So those are really the big names. Let's see here. So Khalil Mack is out for the Bears. Akeem Hicks is coming back though with Tayshaun Gibbs. That I don't care. I still love Eli.
That is big for that Chicago run D, because if you watch the Tampa Bay game, they ran right through them, like, you know, just right through them. Like it just whoop right. Lenny Fournette looked untouched, running right through the middle of that defense without Akeem Hicks. Akeem Hicks is a huge part to the run defense of Chicago. I still, though, San Francisco, the way they run the football, they can run against anyone. So that's how good the run scheme is, their offensive line. I don't worry about matchups as much when it comes to San Francisco. And Eli Mitchell's looked really good. You want to talk about guaranteed touches, a cheap price tag. You're getting all of that with Eli Mitchell, one of the top run scheme offenses in the NFL. So I still think he's a great play, regardless of Hicks being in or out. My question, though, is on fan. So one guy I added to my player pool, I think it was this morning, was Carson Wentz. If you just look at what the guy has done, he's looked a lot better. I'm still not on the top 5 quarterback MVP like Big T, our guy. But at the same time, Carson Wentz has played really well. He's getting weapons back. He's looking healthier from when he double sprained his ankles, right? Like, he seems a lot healthier. I don't really respect the back end of that Tennessee secondary. I know they had a good game plan against the Chiefs, but don't take that and be like, oh, that's going to be what happened. No, that's not their defense. Their defense, they do a decent job against the run. They're decent against the run, but that back end is, you can exploit them. And Carson Wentz, I think, will be able to do that the way he's looked so far. I think there's going to be points in this game. Like I said, with the weapons being a little more healthy, T.Y., maybe you say he's dust, maybe you say he's not, but I still think he can take the top off the defense. I still think he's at least a threat to do it. And that's all you need, is someone who a defense has to just think about a little bit when you're talking about deep balls. And what does Carson Wentz love to do in this offense? Well, he loves to throw the deep ball. He always has loved to throw the deep ball. That's his thing. He's done that really well throughout his career, despite what people say, is the deep ball.
What are you doing, Brandon Cooks, this week? I can't stand Brandon Cooks.
I'm not playing him. I just can't play him.
Jacoby Myers, too. Throw Myers.
Why are we I've been saying this forever. Why are we playing guys in bad offenses? Why? Why are we playing Patriots guys? Why are we playing Houston guys? There is no need to do that. Like, there's just no need. I don't get it. You can make the case for Damian Harris just because the Patriots do have a good offensive line. They do get the Chargers, who have gotten beaten up in the run game at times. I think it's more because of the defense they're choosing to play with that double high safety look. But either way, we'll see what they do against the Patriots. If I were playing the Patriots, I would not. I would be forcing Mac Jones to throw the football and throw it down the field. I would not be playing more of that look, but we'll see what Staley decides to do. I just think there's so many good offenses in so many good spots. Why are we picking on the bad offenses? Who's
the pivot there? I'm looking at this thing because
that's a bad range holding. I talked about it a little in Discord. I like the range below it, to tell you the truth. I like the, Manny Sanders, Devontae Smith, Michael Pittman, Cole Beasley at 4.9, Jerry Jeudy, who I think is literally one of the best route runners in all of football, who's coming back, and he's 4.9K. Not the best offense, though, so this is why I don't love it that much, but he's 4.9K. That's just too cheap for the talent of Jerry Jeudy. In a great matchup, too, by the way, Washington secondary. He could just absolutely destroy them. But again, the reason why I don't have as much Jeudy is more to the fact of I'm trying to stay away from targeting bad teams. I'm trying my best. That the price is what's getting me with Judy, but I still only have a little bit because of that. But I'm with you. I don't like that range. I like the lower 5K range in that upper 4K, and then that 4K range at the bottom. I like some guys. I really like Traquan Smith. I think that last week, I hope people watched that game and said, man, he didn't look good. I don't think he looked bad. I think that the timing with him and Jameis Winston was what looked bad. And I think that another week of practice, I think he sees more snaps. He only saw 55% of snaps. But remember, that's week 1. That's his first week of playing football, coming off a while of not playing football at all. He didn't play. That was his first game. So I'm not worried. I think the snap count goes up. I think the timing it gets better with him and Jameis. And I think we see it here in this matchup. I know you know this because you've probably seen my course. I love Jameis this week. I think he's a great tournament play. He's going to be unowned. We finally get a quarterback who, despite what you want to say about Jameis, he will test corners down the field. He is unafraid to throw the ball and put pressure on corners. And that's what we've been waiting for against this Tampa Bay secondary, because it's bad. We're waiting for a quarterback who will at least attempt to do it. And don't forget, Brady's going to put them in a spot, I think, where they're going to have to throw the football more and more throughout the game, because I think Brady's going to be able to score. And if I think Brady's going to be able to score, and I think that he's going to be able to put the pressure on Jameis is going to have to come back and say, all right, I'm going to have to throw the ball too, and I'm going to have to make things happen with his arm. I think we see that here. I think this is a big game. It's in New Orleans, in the Dome. I think we see a lot of points scored, and I really like it. Now, one thing I'm not doing as much is I'm not double stacking Jameis as much.
Okay.
You could do it. It's a question I got in the Discord. I'm not going to do it as much. Will I have like 1, maybe 2 lineups with 2 guys? Yes, but I'm not forcing it. I'm going to have way more Traquan and Jameis together, and then I'm going to play a run back. And my run back is going to be one of 2 guys. I really like Chris Godwin, and I really like Rob Gronkowski if he plays. We have to see on the Gronk, obviously. We don't know. We think he's going to play, right, Holden? What's the
traveled, and they don't. He traveled, but they don't know if he's going to play. So the other question I have is if he even plays, and he's got the cracked ribs. He's been really good while he's injured, but is he going to do very much? I mean, they don't even know if he's going to play. And the dude.
I mean, if he's in there, I expect that he's feeling good. Because if that's the case, why are you like? If he tests it out and he just doesn't feel right, then they're not going to push him if he doesn't feel right, Holden, right? They're going to say,
right.
Okay, dude, sit out 1 more week. We still got 2, tight ends we got. So, you're fine. You sit out another week. So that's how I see it personally. If he doesn't play, we got another week. You could look at a OJ Howard, you could look at Tyler Johnson's 3-1. I think it's really interesting, the Manning cast. Did you watch the Manning cast on Monday?
I do. I watched a lot of the Manning cast until the final 5 minutes of the game. And then if it's a good game, I actually want to focus in on the game. Yeah, I watched the Manning cast.
So did you watch did you watch Brady? I thought it was really interesting that, Brady's trying not to, Brady's got his edge. Every week he finds the edge, right? He doesn't want to give too much away because Peyton was asking him stuff about what he likes to do in certain situations. Brady doesn't want to be telling people. He was asking about his QB sneaks and what he thinks. Brady doesn't want to give away too much stuff. I thought it was interesting, though. Like, one of the first things Brady said was they were talking and a pass got thrown to one side, and Brady goes, "Oh, he just targeted the 3rd round pick out of whatever college cornerback. Oh, I was watching tape on him earlier." Like, Brady he already knew like everyone for this matchup. He knew their weak points. He knew exactly who they were, what school they went to. Like, he's already studied up, and this is Monday. They don't play until he was already watching film on this one kid, and he said it like, he said it though right away. He was like, I know who that kid is. I was watching tape on him earlier, 3rd round pick out of whatever the college was. I just thought it was interesting. This is what I talk about. Smart quarterbacks, they know where the weak points are in the defense, and they will target that weak point all game. Brady's done it all year. You think he's just going to pick on Lattimore? This is why Mike Evans, a lot of times in the spot, has probably not had great success, because really Tom Brady doesn't want to target the best player on the field. He wants to target the weak players on the field. So when he's got people lined up against these 3rd round rookies, he's going to target the 3rd round rookie. That's just how it goes. I think, that could play into a Gronk, a Tyler Johnson, if Gronk doesn't play, a Chris Godwin. That's how I see it going. So I like the Tampa Bay side. I hope Gronk plays, because I think he'd be a good play here.
I mean, this is like a bombshell, dude. That's what it is with the Ridley news. If you're just joining us, Ridley's out. Calvin Ridley's out, and he was going to be very, very popular this week. I don't think there's any doubt about that whatsoever. The other thing I want to bring up to you, and I know you like Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen too. Buffalo, 15 to 17 mile an hour winds. By the second half, we should have gusts 25 to 30 miles an hour. I'm not there's about 2 guys, maybe 3 guys in this league. Their arm is strong enough. I'm not worried about it. Plus their weapons. Josh Allen is one of them. But what do you think about that?
This is what I think. Josh Allen's played in Buffalo his whole career.
Yeah.
He knows this isn't his first rodeo. It's like Tom Brady when he played in New England, he played in a snowstorm. Not his first rodeo, guys. He's played in blizzards before. Like, the dude just knows how to play. Josh Allen, he's got the arms. He's the perfect quarterback, right, Holden, where you're like, I don't worry about it as much, because his arm is so friggin' strong and he can get the ball anywhere. And listen, maybe it is more Cole Beasley, short, Stephon Diggs, short. Maybe it's more meticulous drives. Maybe we don't see the down the field shots. That was one of the things I was thinking about with a guy like Manny Sanders. Ooh. Maybe we don't see as many of those down the field shots, especially towards the second half of the game, which maybe hurts Josh Allen's upside. Maybe it hurts Manny Sanders and Stephon Diggs' upside. So I still think Josh Allen's a fine play. I understand, though, why people might say, okay, this is just like gives me a reason to say he's the most expensive quarterback on the board. Maybe I'll just play one of his wide receivers and I'll have a piece of Josh Allen without actually having to pay 8-9 for Josh Allen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm just looking at my lineup right now with that. And this is your FanDuel core is what it is. And I'm honestly about 100% sure that FanDuel core is about to change. So. So wipe it out.
Oh, don't just give me a second. It's changing though. It's going to change.
All right. That's big news. And you know what? Let me get on the course play right now on the course page. Guys, just keep refreshing it as it goes. DC already pivoted to Swift. I see the there. Big T redoing his.
Yeah, I find it hard to not have Swift in my core. This is the problem now. I just and especially on FanDuel, where I just think people like see him as this back that is, a pass catching back. So it's like on FanDuel, this is the guy I want more of, like the touchdown. He's got both now. He's got both. He's going to get the rushing attempts in the goal line. It's like Nick Chubb, Holden. When Kareem Hunt's in, you're like, oh, Kareem Hunt's going to get some goal line work. He's going to get some passing work. Listen, Holden, today, Nick Chubb's getting the goal line work, right? No Kareem Hunt. He's not fending off Kareem Hunt. He's going to get the goal line work, which is why I think Nick Chubb's a better play today. We don't have to worry about Kareem Hunt coming in and vulturing the goal line work. Now, we still have to worry about some of these guys maybe coming in and getting passing down work. Maybe Felton and Johnson get more passing down work. That's probably what will happen. But when they get to the goal line, you don't think they're going to want to run Nick Chubb on the goal line over Johnson and Felton, whoever. You're crazy. He's just a way better goal line back. Will Johnson get a drive, though? Yeah, of course he will. He'll get a drive or two. He'll get a few drives, right, Holden? What do you think about the Cleveland backfield?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But my point is though, when they get down to the goal line, you think they're going to leave Johnson in, or you think they're bringing in Nick Chubb?
They're bringing it. I love Chubb, man. And again,
but this is my point though.
Another guy I love.
But this is my point though. With Kareem Hunt, I don't know if they bring in Nick Chubb. They don't bring in Nick Chubb every time when they get in the goal line because Kareem Hunt is such a physical runner. They don't feel they have to. Where I think in this spot, they will. You might see actually the earlier portions of drives where Johnson will start them and Nick Chubb will come in later in the drive. I wouldn't be shocked. Oof. So, yeah, Big T's score just changed.
I like it. I
love it. I love this core. Those are the three. So those are the three running backs, to be honest, I want to put in my core. And just so people who aren't looking at the core page right now, he's got Swift, Henderson, and James Robinson. I think those are the three best running backs on the slate. Joe Mixon is a slight fourth for me, and then Nick Chubb is fifth. That's how I rank these running backs. And I think that's how I think that's probably what I'm definitely going to change my core to have those three running backs. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, with his new core, I have been able to get, let me see here, up at defense. I like the Colts defense a little bit, by the way, this week.
Okay.
I actually like
you think that's a one-sided game, Holden? Do you think it's more of a one-sided game?
No, but I think that I just like that they pressured the quarterback, and I think that they can get to Wentz, and I still like Wentz this week. I'm still on him, but they got back-to-back weeks with a couple picks. We know Wentz is going to throw at least a pick, right?
I like Wentz. I think I might play Wentz on my FanDuel core. He might be my main team on FanDuel.
Then again, I mean, I do have some of that game, and it's just everybody that's saving money is playing Washington this week at defense, aren't they? And I just it's not a bad move either because Denver sucks. Bridgewater's only about 80%, and that's big for him. So I just see this being an ugly game. So I get that, but
I think it will be an ugly game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, so I don't hate the Washington.
Well, actually, I don't want to say.
What?
Okay, Denver defense has not looked good. I have to soak it up. Washington's defense has been bad. You don't think, even though it's not the best two teams, you don't think there could be points scored?
I just think a lot of people do. Like a lot of contrarian, they're going, "Hey, man, this game's going to score." I'm just looking at it. Heineke is short. He overthrows dudes. He'll probably run for 70 yards, which is good for DFS. But outside of that, and then the reason why they've been so bad, the Denver Broncos, they have 7 guys on IR at linebacker.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing I was right about is the way to beat Denver is you run right at them.
Yeah.
You run the football right at them. Mm-hmm. If Taylor Heineke gets in a game where he's falling behind big, that leans Denver heavy. But if they can keep this game close, I mean, Antonio Gibson's been hurt, but he's not like in Millie Maker type formats. It's not a terrible play because if Washington did get up, I think you see more Gibson, and it would lean more to Gibson having a good game, I think, if they got up, because I think they would do it more with the running game of Gibson.
Did Tony take Marcus Johnson out of his core on DraftKings? I'm trying to figure this out here. Is it gone? Like he's not playing him on DraftKings anymore, or what?
Oh, I don't know. Just because a guy, I say this all the time, just because a guy gets taken out of a core doesn't mean he's completely getting taken out of the game plan for somebody. It just might be where he landed. Like it just might be that he wanted to make sure some other guys got core play pieces. Maybe he doesn't feel that even though he's in play, he's not a core play anymore, probably because he had to fit those 3 running backs in that I think are by far the most important guys to have. Yeah. I think that's more what it's got to do with. I don't think it has anything to do with, I got to change mine too, because I got to get his.
I had to get Pitts in there and I had to get
Swift in there.
And that was it. I had to pivot to Pitts and Swift. And I know he's down with A.J. Brown too, that A.J. Brown could just blow up. So maybe Johnson is still there. That's the way to just do it.
I also wanted to say, I talked about this in my, if you guys haven't checked it out, my slate plan, it's up, it's under my player pool page. And I talked about it in my slate plan where I just see this week as an easy 3 running back week. Like just play 3 running backs. I'm playing 3 running backs on every single team I got. And there's just so many good plays. I named 5 of them that are such good plays. And I think, the top 3 that I have in my core, I think are the 3 best. But man, Mixon and Chubb are like, they're there. They're right there. Like we're really cutting it between the line when we talk about like these guys, because I could easily flip one of them. It's close, but I think the best 3 are for sure Robinson, Henderson, and Swift. And I'll say it again, Mixon and then Chubb are right behind.
Boy.
So I just updated my DK core. I'm just putting Swift in there.
All right. So who are you taking out? Are you taking anyone out?
I just took the tight end out. You guys can figure out the tight end spot. You got my player pool too, so you can figure it out.
What do you think of the Browns defense this week?
I don't hate it, especially if you're playing Chubb. I kind of like it. I'm not really a fan of the Steelers that much, even though I will say they've gotten kind of beaten up by some wide receivers recently. It wouldn't shock me if like a Deontay or Chase had like a good fantasy game. Yeah. But from a real life perspective, I do think the Browns win this game. I do think the Browns get up, and I do think they win this game.
So we're both, I like Manny Sanders this year. I thought he was going into a perfect situation. I love the dude, and I liked him coming into today too, but you said something interesting. So we do have the win there. And Sanders in the past has been used kind of as an underneath guy. And he's in your FanDuel core still. Do you keep him in your FanDuel core, or do you just switch to Beasley?
The reason why I loved him in my FanDuel core was because with Stephon Diggs' price at 7.3, I think it's going to be tough for people to just click his name when Diggs is $600 more. It's just hard to do. And then Beasley is $600 less. I think if people love the cheap and the expense, like, if they can get the best player and they see a value price tag, they're always trying to get that guy in there. They're going to say, let me find $600. I got to get Steph Diggs. This is the thought process. So in my head, I'm like, okay, Sanders, because he's sandwiched in between these 2 guys, is going to be the lower owned Buffalo Bill in this situation, because everyone's going to jam in Diggs, because they're going to say to themselves after they click Sanders' name, wait, I could just find $600 more and get Stephon Diggs. That sounds ridiculous that they're only $600 difference. And that's where my thought process came in with Sanders, because I thought this was a good matchup for him. I still think it's a pretty solid matchup. I will just say that I do think he's used more in this offense as a deep field stretcher. Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley are used more. Diggs is used in both ways because he's just that good. You can do pretty much anything with Stephon Diggs, but Cole Beasley is definitely used more as like a short yardage type guy, move the chains. Stephon Diggs, though, with Josh Allen, especially last year, he was used a lot that way. If we remember, a lot of short passes, because Josh Allen has the arm to make all those throws. So those throws where Stephon Diggs is all the way on the outside and he runs 6 yards and then just like quickly stops and turns around, you would think Josh Allen, like those are hard throws for quarterbacks from like an arm strength perspective to make consistently, right? Josh Allen, it's not a big deal. He can make those. He could do that all the way down the field because he's got that arm. So they ran that a ton last year. That's where Diggs was piling up catches, because they would just run these like 5, 6, 7, 8 yard and stop or turn or outs. And Diggs just piled up the catches from Josh Allen because he was so strong with his arm. It was an easy throw for him to make. Most quarterbacks, that's not an easy throw.
Well, then that's the question then. So you're going to leave Sanders in your core then, right?
I'm going to update my core. I think Josh Allen's coming out of the core. Yeah.
Oh, he's not going to be your FanDuel QB.
I think Josh Allen's going to come out of the core.
Well, what are you thinking? Talk to me about this.
Yeah, well, so I'm going back and forth on Carson Wentz for cheap and Jameis for cheap on FanDuel. I obviously got Jameis in my DK core, so I'm trying to think about if I want to get Carson, because I do like him in my FanDuel core and have him on my main team. I think that's the way I'm leaning.
Who are you pairing him with?
I want to just pair him with Pittman. I think Pittman's Pittman's his guy. I think Pittman's his guy that he really just has a connection with. I wish TY was like really cheap. He's not on FanDuel. He's 6'2". Yeah. $400 less. I do think that Carson Wentz, like I said, he wants to throw that deep ball. TY, that's what he does. He's a field stretcher. Wouldn't shock me if he caught a big catch. But I think Pittman's just the easiest choice.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. You like AJ Brown too? You're an AJ Brown guy today?
I mean, I was an AJ Brown guy last week. He was in the core. I do find it funny though how like everyone's like, oh, it's AJ Brown week. No, it was AJ Brown week last week. It's just
every week.
AJ Brown. Yeah.
So there's
like,
just
you're not telling us anything new. Like you're not telling us like people like to say like, oh, this. You're not telling us anything new when you say like AJ Brown's a great player. Like, yes, we know. He already went off last week. We saw it. Okay, I was there. I started the AJ Brown trend. I was there first. Get off AJ Brown. Stop talking like you know it's his week. Like I get it. He went off last week. Of course, he's a good play. Dunkel, what's up? Don't tell me AJ Brown's the easiest play.
What's up, JSU? I'm happy I come in the show. You're already ranting. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
What the hell happened to you last night?
Well, why do you think I'm here, Dunkel? What the fuck? I mean, I should just leave if that's the case. That's the only reason why they have me. My question, they like my rants.
Who's the best in your mind? Who's the best pivots off AJ?
That is a good question. I think Tony had a little something with his Marcus Johnson call. I think that's super sneaky. I don't have any Marcus Johnson right now, but that's more because of most of my builds. Whereas like in a Carson Wentz build, I don't hate going cheap with two wide receivers and playing a Marcus Johnson on a FanDuel. Nobody's going to play him. It's going to be unowned, especially if you want three of these stud running backs. See, this is where I'm finding a difficult build here, JJ, because after we got the Jamal Williams news, him being out, I really love Swift. I think Swift is just hard not to play. And I want to play James Robinson. I want to play one of Joe Mixon, Darrell Henderson as my third running back. So I want three good, pretty much expensive running backs. If I do that, I need to spend down for at least two wide receiver spots. And this is where I'm struggling with the build a little bit, because if I spend down for two, I land in this range that I don't love many. And I hate doing that, because whenever I do that, I always want to rebuild my teams when I get into a range I don't love, but I love the rest of my team. And I think this is something interesting, because I think when people build lineups, I think this is something that everyone gets to a point where they say, I love the rest of my team. So I have to just choose between player X and player Y. And I don't love X or Y, but I love the rest. And it's like, what do you do in those spots? Because I find myself, I won't play a guy I don't love. I just can't do it. So I will end up rebuilding.
I mean, that's what I'm looking at right now. It's interesting, man, because then if you don't want to play AJ Brown this week, here's the guy. I'm just going to talk about FanDuel for a second. Yeah. Mike Williams is the same price. I don't know what you take on Williams. DJ Moore is $100 more. That offense is a disaster. I love Deontay Johnson this week. I don't have enough of them. That might burn me. McLaurin's 200 less. Metcalf's 200 less. And Diggs is 300 less. So if you're not going AJ Brown, is Diggs the pivot then at 300 less? What are we doing there?
I mean, Diggs on FanDuel, Diggs is going to be one of the most popular receivers on the board.
Hate him. Okay.
I don't. For that reason alone, I don't want to play him on FanDuel just because I feel like he's going to be so popular. Mm-hmm. You could eat the chalk, but yeah, this is the tough thing with the build. You got to kind of, you got to make some moves that you're a little uncomfortable with. That's the point, though.
All right, so go get that core done. I'm going to talk to JJ about some bets, all right? And then after that, guys, we're going to hammer out all of your questions. I know you got them. Jaja, you'll be the first, and I know you asked that, a little while ago, but all your questions up there, we're going to try and get to as many as possible. I know JSU has to hop out a little bit early, so JJ and I are going to be in charge of things. JJ, but let's talk about the bets, buddy. What are the first of all, you look like you hung out at a Halloween party for a long time. Was that accurate?
Somewhat accurate.
Yeah, you look
somewhat
like
accurate.
Okay.
And me and you running the show. I mean, talk about the inmates running the asylum. You love
not good. It's not good. What do we got bets wise? Talk to me about a couple you got today.
Yeah, so I put these in a few days ago. I really like the Lions team total under today. That has nothing to do with the expected game flows for guys like Swift. It's more of the Lions. I don't think they've scored 3 touchdowns. I think they've done it once this season, 3 touchdowns. And it was against the Niners in a weird scripted game where with a minute left, they scored like 3 touchdowns somehow. When the game was way out of reach. I think that Philly's defense is a bit underrated, and the Lions can't seem to score against anybody. I know that, like, for whatever reason, everybody wants this team to win a game. Like, and I get it. They probably will at some point this year. To me, this line reminds me a lot of the Bengals line from a few weeks ago, where the Bengals were like 3.5 against the Lions. And the Eagles obviously aren't as good as the Bengals. But this line is it's almost comical to me. This Lions team should be 4 or 5 points underdog against any somewhat, semi-neutral team, if you will. The Eagles, I have them slightly below an average team on my end. So the fact that the line is this close is just comical to me. To me, I don't see why the Eagles shouldn't win this game by double digits. With that said, Jalen Hurts does have some accuracy issues. So I preferred instead of laying the 3 with the Eagles, which is what it is now, and that seemed to me it's such a smash spot. I prefer to go the Lions team total under because if anything, the Eagles are going to want to play a smash mouth game where they win and limit Detroit as much as they can. And they get decent pass rush with their 4, and we know how that results with Jared Goff. So I think overall, tough sledding for the Lions offense today, as it's been all season. They've scored 3 touchdowns once this year. Could it happen today? I guess, but they could actually score 3 touchdowns and still go under this number. I think it's a very large number for all the wrong reasons. So yeah, really like that spot under for them.
Something that is not going to change my mind on any of this stuff. I'm looking at a report here. Boston Scott is working with the first team for Philadelphia too. To me, just stay the hell away from this thing. Gainwell, Boston Scott, Jordan Howard. It's Jalen Hurts going to steal a rushing touchdown at least. Yeah, I'm with you on that. What's another bet you can give us?
Yeah, so Jaguars first half, probably my favorite bet of the weekend.
Yeah.
This is a team that consistently has come out and performed really well in the first half of football games. Urban Meyer's had a severe issue making adjustments at halftime. They've had a few double-digit leads get squandered in the second half, but they've been scripting off really good offensive plays. And let's be honest, even if you rewound to the first few weeks of the season, the Jaguars' offense was moving the football. They were just turning the football over a ton. They've since cleaned up the turnovers. Their offensive, from a yards per play perspective, still about league average. And now they haven't been turning the football over. So you've been seeing them get better production from their offense, especially early in games. And I don't want to be in a situation where it's a close game late and I have to deal with Urban Meyer's head-scratching decision-making. I like the first half. I like Jacksonville over the team total first half, which is 9.5. This is a team, they're off a bye. They've been playing really well offensively. And let's be honest, Seattle, it's not like they're chewing up clock offensively. So I like the fact that, we get a situation where Geno Smith in that offense hasn't really been moving the football that well. Hopefully it'll result in a few extra Jaguars possessions where they wouldn't have had if Russell Wilson was playing. Small number, Jags +3. I think I got that -115. I know 2.5 still floating at like a +100. To me, either way, it's fine. I think there's a very realistic scenario where the Jaguars could be winning at the half or even tied. both would cash. Really like the Jaguars.
Okay, you guys are bettors. You got JJ stuff there. It's time for us to take the question. Oh, and Big T's core has changed too on FanDuel. So his new core is it's still Wentz, and then he's got Henry, Swift, and Elijah Mitchell. All right, so he's going Mitchell, Pittman, and then AJ Brown is in there. So a little bit of a change there on FanDuel. Again, as we get closer here, I'm seeing a lot more Carson Wentz. JSU, you and Big T on Carson Wentz here. I like the Carson Wentz call. He's probably not going to get us 30, but at that price point, if he gets us like 22, 23, we're going to be fine because we could shove some other guys in, especially, I mean, on both sides, really, right? So here's my next question for you, JSU. And I see the first 4 players in your core, 5 players in your core on FanDuel. What is it coming down to for this last play that you're going to throw in there? I got Wentz, Robinson, Henderson, Pittman, Mitchell. Is it going to come down to Swift?
Yeah, I did everything.
It can't come down to Swift. You got Mitchell, Henderson, and Robinson.
Yeah, so I tried. I talked about it with you guys. I tried my best to find the 3-stud running back build with this stack. I couldn't find anything I liked. So I had to revert back and pay down at one of the running back spots. It's just what happens in the building process. Sometimes you get to a point, like I said, some people will just pick their favorite option out of options they don't like. I hate doing that. I try not to do that. That's what I try to stay away from. For that reason, this is where I'm at. I'm sticking a lot. Eli Mitchell is a good play. He's 5.8K. He's too cheap on the site. And then James Robinson, I just saying he's the best play on the board and then actually believing it, which I do. He needs to be in my FanDuel core. I mean, he's going to be lower owned than most of those guys under him. I think I just think he's the best play on the board at running back for, everything. And I got to have him in there. So yeah, that's where we're going.
See, I kind of feel
updated.
Like, you know what's interesting, JSU? I kind of feel like Mixon, Henderson, Swift, and Robinson. Now it's $600 difference, but those 4 guys, can we just talk about these guys for a second here? Robinson, you absolutely love. Swift is a better DK play. Would you say that? And then, like, to me, it comes down to Henderson, Mixon. I know you liked Mix. I love Mixon today. So I'm probably going to end up playing him over Henderson with your core, and I'll use the rest of your core. But how big is the difference?
I don't like that.
How big is the difference between Mixon and Henderson? Tell me.
I really don't think it's that big. I really think both guys are set up in similar game scripts where their team's going to be ahead. It might actually end up being similar to the standpoint where in the fourth quarter, they're getting hooked because they're up so much that, both guys don't need to be on the field anymore. But we've seen the one good thing about the Rams. We've seen it, man. They'll be up points and they'll still be throwing the football and still running their offense. And Henderson sees the majority of the work as long as the game is, I don't know, in their minds, somewhat still alive. And he's going to be in there. The one thing I've seen with Joe Mixon, though, from Cincy is, man, Cincy will pull their starters quick. They will. They did it against the Lions. They put the full halt on the Lions game 2 weeks ago, and Mixon was right out of there. They had the backup in there. Mixon had a great game still, but they just said, nope, we're getting the second team in there, put the quarterback in too. Like, yeah, they'll do it. Whereas the Rams, I think they'll go a little longer. They'll wait a little bit to pull their first team.
JJ, what do you make of this here? Let's talk to you. You're a big DFS guy too. Robinson, Henderson, Mixon, all these guys in the same price point on FanDuel. What do you think of them? How would you rank them?
I think it's all about what you're specifically playing and where you're trying to find leverage. I think overall, I love the Robinson call from the beginning with JSU. I think now more than ever, he's even a better leverage play because I think you're going to have a lot of people late moving to Swift. You're going to have a lot of people, maybe even a lot of people plugging in. JSU, what's your thoughts on Cordell Patterson? Because I think you're going to have people sliding to him with no Ridley. I think
I agree. I told us to hold in. There are so many good running back plays in that 6 and 7K range, like 6 to 7K range, and they just can't all be high owned. Like they can't be. Someone's being left out. Maybe 2 will be left out of the mix. I think it's going to end up being Chubb and maybe James Robinson, I think, are the 2 that could be left out from an ownership standpoint, where you're going to look at their ownership and you're going to say, wow, that's lower than I thought. I think that's what we're going to get out of those 2, because Henderson's going to definitely have ownership. Swift, for a fact, Swift's ownership's going up. I think Mixon, because of the team they're playing, the game script lines up right. I think Mixon's going to have more ownership. Cordero Patterson, someone you just brought up, that you're right. No Calvin Ridley. It's probably going to be more opportunity for Cordero Patterson packages with him at running back, wide receiver. He's probably going to get an ownership boost. So, and then I'm leaving out other guys kind of in the range that, like, Najee Harris is 7.5, Jonathan Taylor 7.2. Those are guys that'll get some ownership. So I agree. I think, for me, this is why James Robinson, I hope people just say, you know what, I need this guy over James Robinson. Like, I need to get up to Swift. I need to play Darrell Henderson too, and it leaves Robinson out.
Truth be told, I think from a leverage standpoint, believe it or not, I think whose ownership goes down with all this news is Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. I think that those are 2 guys that were probably going to be sub, 15, maybe 15, 18% owned, maybe in that neighborhood, pending the dollar amounts and prize pools and whatnot in GPPs. I'm not talking cash. I do believe that with all this extra wiggle room now in the middle ground area, in that 6K area, and people running multiple lineups, I think they're just going to be running out less Henry and less Taylor, which, look, they're both good plays anyway. If all this news didn't kind of come to surface this morning between Ridley and the Williams news for Swift, I do believe that people are going to chop away at their Henry Taylor lineups and inject more Swift and Cordell Patterson. And I think from a leverage perspective, I don't necessarily think it's going to impact too much of that 6K range, believe it or not, especially for people running multiple lineups. Because I do believe people are just going to be like, you know what? There's so much value in that middle tier. I'm just going to get away from the upper priced running backs, because I can get similar upside from some of these other guys. But from a game theory perspective, it does give you the opportunity to move up the field if you keep Henry and you keep guys like Taylor in your lineup, because I think people are going to remove them.
Okay, guys, make sure you check the updated cores if you're tailing these guys. The updated cores are there. BigT. JSU has redone his. I believe AP has redone his. I don't think anything changed for Tambo. I could be wrong. He may have added Swift. I don't think he did, though. I feel like Tambo's right there. So check the cores out, guys. Let's start getting to some questions. Zaza, thanks for being patient, everybody. Best FanDuel flex play. Moss, Pittman, or Van Jefferson? Isn't it Pittman and pretty easily? JSU?
Pittman, for sure.
I think that's where would you rank? This is Run SMC. Where would you rank Wentz in your exposure, which you currently have as Allen, Hurts, Winston? So after Allen and Hurts and Winston, where does Wentz fall into that trio or a quad, 4 people?
God, I just did it again. I talked on mute like a donkey. I'm going to have on DK, I'm going to have more of my exposure to Jameis Winston as he's in my core. He's going to be the guy I have the most exposure to at quarterback. Jalen Hurts, I have a good amount on Yahoo. I don't have as much Jalen Hurts on DraftKings. I have exposure to that game, though, within my lineup. It might end up being the same thing with the Bills, where I end up playing more Carson Wentz and Jameis than I thought initially. I have a ton of Jameis, like, just to be honest. On DK, I've got really a lot of Jameis. The question is, do I move off the few builds I have with Hurts and Allen to get a little Wentz in there, because he's someone I came onto a little later in the week, but he's so cheap, and I do like some of his options at receiver that I might end up playing more of the cheap quarterbacks than the expensive quarterbacks on DK and actually on FanDuel for the most part. On Yahoo, I'm going to stick with my Hurts and Allen teams. But yeah, that's so Winston's one in tournaments for sure. I have the most Winston. Wentz would be 2 or 3 when it's all said and done. It might be Allen Wentz, or it might be Wentz Allen. I haven't finished all those yet.
Okay.
Because DeAndre Swift, just to be honest, I am trying to get more of the 3 stud running back builds, because what I was doing in a lot of my builds was playing 2 of those top price running backs with one of those cheaper running backs, like Eli Mitchell on DK, like Kenneth Gainwell. But I'm kind of coming off the Gainwell a little bit, just because I really think playing these 3 studs in that 6K, 7K range is going to be the winner. I think there's enough value on the board to do it.
I don't like Gainwell. I know a lot of people are on Gainwell. You got Boston Scott in the mix. You got Hurts, who's going to steal, the touchdowns.
Yeah,
I'm not there, man.
And I think even if he gets you 15, it's not like you're not dead at 15 if these running backs go for 25. Like, it's
I hear you.
Interesting.
Well, 100%. I hear you on that. Let's keep taking some questions. I got to pee too. So, 3 hours of radio. I got to pee. But here, I like the NY Jets one. Alpha receivers have crushed the Browns. Any interest in Deontay? Dude, I love Deontay on DK. The problem is I just don't have enough money to get up to him a lot. So I bet his receiving prop, and that was it. I don't have him in DF.
That is the problem with Deontay. I see the projections a little lower too. I agree with you though. Cleveland's gotten killed by some of these stud wide receivers, and I do think one of Deontay or Claypool could end up with a bigger day just in general. Guys that I'm not going to have a ton of, but I get throwing one in. They're going to be 3-4% owned. No one's going to play them. I mean, JJ, are you going to have any exposure to Pittsburgh at all?
No. It's not. It's more of a game where I know that there'll be somewhat low ownership in, and you either go higher than that or you fade it entirely. I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think for the most part, that's how people are viewing that game, right? It's like, I don't love it. 2 teams, the Browns. I mean, outside of the running game for the Browns, what's the Browns fantasy value for like wide receivers? It's just terrible. Like, the tight ends a couple weeks have done decent. Like Njoku went off that week, but again, that's so hard to predict those crazy weeks where one of those guys just pops off for a big week. The consistency is the running game for the Browns. For the Steelers, I mean, really the only consistent, Deontay's been pretty good. Najee has been like the main guy though, right? Like he's been, from a fantasy standpoint, he's been the main guy. Deontay has been low key though, pretty good. Even in tougher matchups, I will say, one of the reasons why is he almost consistently always gets double-digit targets. And that's why he's been consistently good, is the volume. If he stays in the game for a full 4 quarters, the volume is almost always there with Deontay. So even if he doesn't get in the box, you're getting double-digit target volume. And that's something you just love, especially on DK with the PPR.
Just so you know, I had to change my shirt. I just peed on my other shirt on accident. I was looking at the change of the course. So interesting morning.
You just peed on your shirt?
Yeah, the bottom thing was hanging over, and then I'm like, oh, and then it splashed. It's a disaster. Let's get back to the questions. Because I knew I would get one. I just might as well throw it out there right now. I see no one's on Higbee as much as I am. All right, Alec, you know what? That's not a bad play. Otters on the over, Van Jefferson or Traquan. I understand he's in your core, but why not Jefferson? You know what, JSU, and I've had this second sense here. I don't play Van on the road. He's at home.
Is that like a rule you have?
Yeah, at this point, it's basically a rule. And I think that Rams offense is much better at home. They're going to take care of business. I think they'll take care of business today. But just for me, I don't play Van on the road. Not with Kupp, with Woods, with Higbee. I don't do it.
You know what I don't love either? I don't love the fact that I feel like Van is like now everyone's sneaky call. You know what I mean? He's my favorite cheap guy. Like I liked him last week. He got in the box. I'm going to move away. I like other listen, against Houston is just, they're bad. You can pick on them, the run game, the pass game, for sure. But I don't like it when everyone's talking about, oh, he's the sneaky guy. The sneaky guy comes in at like 8 or 10%. You're like, oh, I like him when he's at like 3 or 4%. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it's just like when more people are on him, that's when I want to be off. I think a guy like you want to get real sneaky. I think a guy like Quez Watkins in the slot against Detroit. I think he's got a good shot to catch a bomb here. He's 4K. He's right in that Van Jefferson price. I think if people play Philly guys, they're going to play 3 guys. They're going to play, 4. Jalen Hurts, Kenneth Gainwell, Dallas Goedert, and Devonta Smith. You want one guy that's not going to be played is Quez Watkins. Plays just around 70% of snaps, so he's on the field a ton. He gets a ton of slot work, and Detroit has really struggled in coverage. Big plays down the field. They play a lot of man, too, just over 50% man. Quez Watkins one-on-one. That dude has made some big plays this year. Maybe doesn't go, goes overlooked a little bit just because their offense hasn't been great, really. But he's a good receiver, so I'll take a shot on Quez. I think he catch a bomb.
Hey JJ, I usually don't like bet player props this close to start of games, but JSU and I like James Robinson just from a stand. I didn't even like the ATN pick, by the way. James Robinson, his prop is went up from 69.5 to 72.5. Don't you see him going over that today against Seattle, or is that just there's too many things that could go wrong?
You would think. I mean, there's like multiple stats that point to him in an extremely favorable position today. Seattle's been bad against the run. Yeah. It seems like Urban Meyer's finally figured it out that Robinson is going to be his guy. But with that said, this is off a bye week for the Jags, and who knows what Urban Meyer could cook up for a game like this.
Stay away.
But we give Urban Meyer too much credit on this show. Come on, JJ. Don't give him too much credit on this show. Don't jinx my pick right now.
To be honest, he's a good pass catching back too, JSU. So he could eat a ton in that and not get his number there, but in the rushing end of things. He could also score 3 touchdowns and end with 65 yards rushing. So I think overall, it's a few yards. Are you saying Holden more of from a suspect spot where you're like, I think everybody's going to be on the over, and why has it only moved 3 yards since open?
Yeah, well, I don't know if anyone's going to be on the over. Well, obviously they are because it's moved 3 or 4 yards. But I like him. It was something I looked at earlier this week. I kind of backed off. I'm like, I don't know, maybe Jacksonville. Maybe Jacksonville isn't going to have it. Maybe they don't have it. But he gets so much volume. The matchup is good, and now JSU's on him. Like when these guys, with JSU's on a guy, Hoop, Big T, when these guys are on a guy, it just makes me feel stronger about going back to it. And I'm upset about the 4 yards, but I think I might hit it then because he should have 80 yards. Like JSU, James Robinson should have 80 yards rushing today, or is he going to do more damage out of the passing game?
I think that he could do more damage. Listen. If I give Urban Meyer some credit and say Urban Meyer has watched every game Seattle's played and he sees what the other smart coaches have done against this team that every coach in the league has seen this year, then he should be throwing James Robinson the ball a ton in this game.
Yeah, I'm betting it.
But I can't say with full confidence. All I can say is that James Robinson looks like he's clearly just taken over as the man in this job. And I will take the shot on this spot in hopes that Urban Meyer realize that you can beat this Seattle team specifically with the running back in the passing game. They've gotten killed with screen passes, and just all year they've gotten killed by just about every team. You got to do it. You got to feed him the rock. Like JJ said, he is a good pass catcher. He's right.
Yeah, he's a terrific pass catcher.
Yep.
Maybe it's all right. Whatever. My play is still Elijah Mitchell over is my favorite, but that was an interesting one. I hit it for a half a unit. Okay, KMB Squid. Why is nobody talking about Jonathan Taylor? Why aren't we talking about Jonathan Taylor?
It's the range, KMB Squid, and it's that simple. It's that damn range where there's so many good plays, and he just falls through the cracks. You know what I mean? He's a good play. Right? He is a good play. But again,
he's definitely going to be the guy that loses out the most out of all this price. I mean, talking about Henry's losing out a bit too, I think, but Taylor is definitely getting ripped off people's lineups because of all this extra price items that have happened.
This is, and then another Pitts question. I think Jeremy Chin's going to be on. That'll be a fun one, but Pitts has just been unstoppable. So there you go, NY Jets. You know, Pitts, I'm all over Pitts. Now, you know, I had saved some at tight end. I switched the core around once we had JSU and Tony change it. So I got Pitts, NY Jets. Finrod, what do you think about Winston naked? Don't want to see it. But JSU, you like Winston. Would you throw him in there without a teammate?
Most of my lineups, I got him with one guy.
Okay.
So, like I said, it minimizing risk. You put two guys in there, it's just really tough unless that guy's name's Kamara. I'm not spending up on Kamara. So it's just, I'm going to try and keep most of my lineup builds to one guy.
NY Jets again can you rank the Falcons without Ridley? Pitts, Gage, Patterson, point per dollar. Pitts, Gage, Patterson.
So Patterson is going to be the third guy for me, and it's only because I've talked about all these other running backs that I just prefer in that range over him. So he's going to be third. It's going to go Pitts, Gage, Patterson for me.
Okay. I like it. Where the hell is the questions? All right, here we go. Any Khalil Herbert love from Jeans?
Not on this slate. I don't have any.
I'm fine. I'll probably run for 80 yards. If he gets in the box, you're fine. But it's probably at that price point too. And Mitchell right there. So that's for me at least. Kenny Stills, question mark from Upside Down Man.
I don't have any Kenny Stills.
Johnson with AJ Brown from Johnny Jackson. Which Johnson are we talking about?
Marcus Johnson?
It must be. Yeah.
I mean, if you're playing both those guys, I would assume you're playing Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it if you weren't.
You know, we're kind of the double tight end show. It's interesting. And Mogul Mine goes, do you like Hawkinson and Pitts in a DKGPP together?
So I am playing through running backs on all of my teams, but I do think that would honestly be sneaky.
Yeah, it is. Thoughts on Tyler Higbee again from Alec?
He falls as a tight end. I'm not going to have a lot of. He's going to be on the field almost every snap though. But I see too many other guys right next to his price. I'd want Gronk if he was in, Goddard, Gesicki, TJ, Hawkinson. I'm not going to be on that.
Any Kamara with the New Orleans Tampa Bay stacks on defense on DK? Isn't he like the wide receiver one?
He is. He's also 8.4, 8.7, I guess. And technically, no matter how you want to shake it, if he runs a touchdown or two in, it hurts Jameis. Yes, he'll get volume though in the passing game for sure. But yeah, I'm just not paying that price tag when there's all these other running backs I think have big upside in their spots.
JJ, where do you land on Kamara today?
Complete fade for me. I think he's a player that you should choose to be overweight on. I mean, I'd figure JSU, what do you think? 12, 13%? I mean, maybe.
Yep. Yeah, I think the 10s to 15 range is right.
So my opinion, if you're going to play him in tournaments, I think you play him about 30%, or you just completely fade him because I think he's going to be a great leverage play if he does well. For me personally, I'll stay away from him entirely. But if you're looking to match the field, I do believe you're going to get about that 12 to 13% ownership on Kamara, and use that to your advantage.
All right, B-Nair, Agnew in the Rams D or Beasley in the Lions D?
Oof.
I think I could have some Agnew in that 4 o'clock slate. I don't know. Maybe we're just been
or
talking.
Agnew and the Rams D, or who was the other one?
Beasley Lions.
Beasley. Oh, God. Beasley and Lions for me, I guess.
Sutton or Keenan from DFS Dom?
Keenan.
So wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, different.
You like Sutton, JJ?
I think he's just got high tournament upside. I think that Judy helps him actually, and Washington's been absolutely abysmal versus wide receivers. So I've kind of gone back and forth on who to play because Judy's a bit of a flight risk coming back. But I think if anything, he's going to open things up for Sutton, and you can throw the ball downfield against Washington. I know I'm not a big Bridgewater guy in terms of him piling up points, but he is cheap today. So you could talk about a semi-cheap stack where you kind of stack that game and run it back with a Washington player. And I kind of like Sutton there the most on that Denver side.
Okay. No love for Cordero Patterson. Nobody's talking about Patterson. Well, you just talked about Patterson.
I did.
All right. So he's I like Gage coming into the day without this news. I like Gage still too. So, but Patterson, listen, he's explosive. He's being used as a wide receiver. I think he's very viable on DK personally. The boys, AJ Brown, Mo Alley Cox, or Traquan and Pitts. Basically, that's
Traquan and Pitts for me.
Yeah.
If I got to choose.
Is there any love for Najee Harris? Seeing some big receptions today from Barks. JJ, Najee Harris, any of him today?
No, it's a game I'm completely fading. So
yeah,
I hope it is 7-3 because I'm completely.
What do you think, Najee, today? We just don't have any, right? JSU is just not there.
Not
a bad play.
No, he's not a bad play. Dude plays majority of the time and gets all the work. Yeah, definitely not a bad play.
Who do you want? Ray Gun, who are you pairing with Hurts between Goddard and Smith?
Well, if you like it, that's the question of, do you like another tight end enough? If you do, Smith is the answer for me, but Goddard's probably the safer play because you can just plug him in at tight end. You got your tight end set up. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a lineup question, like a lineup construction question.
Marvin Jones or Cole Beasley, FanDuel GPP for Mogul Mine.
Marvin Jones or Cole. Marvin Jones probably has more touchdown upside. I do like Cole Beasley's spot a little better. The more and more I think about it, it's like Cole Beasley could be set up for being peppered in the passing game.
All right. Does the playbook
JJ, you got a lean?
Not really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably. I'm gonna say Cole Beasley. Screw it. I like Cole Beasley.
Does the playbook change with all the news? Yeah, I think so. I think the Hoop is in there taking care of that. Why is DeAndre Swift a leverage play? He was a leverage play beforehand, and now there's no Jamal Williams today. So that would be the answer there, buddy. T.Y. Baker, T.T. Baker. PG Rebels, thoughts on David Johnson? He's so cheap on DK.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I can't sign off on the David Johnson love. I heard a little of it, and like Holden, I wanted to throw up on my screen as I was listening to our guys talk about love for David Johnson. And I will not specifically call out by a man's name, but I heard it on these airwaves, on the YouTube stream, Someone tell me that David Johnson was an okay play because he still gets looks in the passing game. JJ, you want to talk about cheeks? I mean, woo, dude.
Oof.
Ass cheeks, right, bro? Ass
Yeah.
cheeks, as you would say.
Yeah, definitely falls into the cheeks category.
Is this a good week for Chargers, Mike Williams, Herbert, and Eckler at their ownership with their potential? West Coast gem. How do you
Mike
not
Williams, sneaky play. I'll say it. Mike Williams is definitely a sneaky play.
Holden, please ask JSU, FanDuel GPP, Freiermuth and Diggs, Deontay Moali. Thank you. Freiermuth, Diggs, Deontay Moali. Personally, I like number 2, JSU, but it's your call.
Freiermuth, Diggs, Deontay Moali. Yeah, number 2 for me as well.
Okay. Had to step away. Do you, JSU, happen to answer if I need a Miami run back with a Buffalo double stack? You know what, man? Here's my stance on run backs now. It's nice to have them, but if another guy is from a different game and he's the same price and you think he's better, just play him. Especially if the other team sucks. Like, what is Miami going to do today? Devontae Parker and Myles Gaskin? People are high on those two guys. JJ, do you like Devontae Parker or Myles Gaskin?
I don't like Gaskin for the price, though I definitely don't mind Parker.
You don't mind Parker today. Okay, well, there you go. You can run Parker out there if that's what you want to do.
Holden is definitely against it, though. Just heard it in his voice.
I think Parker.
JJ, you hear that? Did you hear it in his voice too? I heard it in his voice.
He's like, oh, wow. I guess somebody does like Parker. Okay, I don't.
Yeah.
That's okay.
He was waiting for you to like shit on the play, and then you come in and you're like, actually, I think he's a pretty good play.
You know
and
what?
Holden's like, fucking.
You can take.
Damn you, JJ.
You can take your 30-mile-an-hour gusts with two attack blah 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 and go fucking run those guys out there.
I'll tell you, that dude couldn't even make a 5-yard out throw to the outside. You want to throw him and win.
Wait till he's thrown in the wind. That's going to be awesome. Big T, last second for my boys. Thoughts for my boys. I think Boston Scott's going to be super sneaky and unknown. Okay.
Who said that?
Big T.
He said Boston Scott's going to be super sneaky and unowned.
Yes.
He's right about both. He's going to be sneaky because he's going to be unowned. So I agree with them that he's going to be a sneaky unowned guy that I will not play because he's fucking Boston Scott and they got 3 goddamn running backs. Big T, don't play Boston Scott, please.
JJ, do you want to give some affirmation to Big T on his Boston Scott call?
I think it's a good leverage spot. Especially if he's
no, JJ. Of course. Say good or bad play.
Yeah, it's great. I say, no.
Will somebody put the stamp on this? Like yes or no?
I will not be the stamp on this specific question. I won't be the guy.
Oh, damn it.
Any love for Hurts naked? Worked for me last week. I don't know if it'll work this week.
Jalen Hurts is one of those quarterbacks you could just play naked. I will say he's one of those guys, especially, maybe he's got some upside in the running game as well, could steal ground rushing TDs, towards the goal line. Yeah.
Stan, DKGPP, Winston, Traquan Henderson, Wentz, Pittman, Mitchell. Winston, Traquan Henderson, Wentz, Pittman, Mitchell. You like Traquan this week, dude.
I think you know where I stand with the
because you love Henderson, you love Traquan, you love Winston. So there you go. You got a take on this, JJ? Wentz, Pittman, Mitchell versus Winston, Traquan, Henderson.
I prefer the Wentz side of things. I do believe it's a really good spot for that offense.
Reamer, I keep landing on Robbie Anderson. Pray for me. Why don't you just go drink some Clorox bleach instead of doing that? Because then you'll be dead. And you won't have to think about. Don't drink Clorox bleach, by the way. Please don't do that.
Hold it. What? Jeez,
that was excessive, but
that was so excessive.
That's where I stand on Robbie Anderson all season long. Fine. You know what? He's going to go off, and Mangone's going to be like, I told you I got leverage on him. I'm like, fine. The fucking 7 weeks beforehand that you lost all that goddamn money playing with him, tell me that you made more back from playing Robbie Anderson.
It seems like
all I'm gonna say is you just told someone to.
I told him not to drink bleach. Listen, if he does it, he was a weak-minded individual, and this is all about,
Who hurt Holden is the big question. I mean,
that's right, JJ. I agree with you. Who hurt Holden?
When?
God.
When?
Right. I mean, I don't know. Right now, before the show, did Big T make fun of you, Holden? Is that what happened?
No, actually, I made fun of Big T. He had nothing bad to say. He said I hurt his feelings a whole bunch. So no, everybody was nice to me today.
Did you miss that? Holden said he's in a great mood. 30 seconds ago, he's telling people to drink Clorox bleach.
Well, that's why I do it, because I'm feeling all frosty. I'm all full of Fanta.
That's why he's doing it, Dunkel. That's why he feels good.
What? Instead of bleach, drink Fanta. It's just as bad for you. Stan. Oh, we already did Stan's. Cox, Higbee, or Henry? Mo Alley, Higbee, or Henry, guys? Green Ranger.
Henry's got a narrative streak, right?
Yeah, he does.
Reamer wants to talk to HR. Hey, we're getting a complaint there from Reamer. JSU, you are HR. So
I am off. I am off in about 3 minutes. So you got to get your complaint to me real quick, because once 1 o'clock hits, I'm out, buddy. HR is closed down.
I was thinking about drinking a nice cup of coffee. Now I think I'm going to drink some bleach. Thanks for the advice. Hey, cheers to you, buddy. Cheers to you.
Holden, you're starting a trend. I don't like it.
All right. Jacoby Myers or T. Higgins, last spot. I
think you got to go Higgins, right?
I like Higgins.
More targets.
Pinto got Flo, best defenses. Who's in your pool again, JSU, for the defense?
I got the Bengals. I got the Bills. I've got the Jaguars at 2,400. I have Washington in my pool too, but everyone's going to play Washington for a cheap D. I think Jaguars are an interesting pivot there at lower ownership, even though their D is not that great, but neither is Geno Smith. The Browns at 3K are in my pool. Those are the main defenses.
No Washington for either one of you?
I might have like 1 or 2 lineups with them, but I definitely am not going overweight. I think I have 1.
Okay. DJ Moore, Dan Arnold, or Goddard and Eli Mitchell? DK Cash. Ooh, Cash. You know where I stand on that. I'm all about Elijah. If he falls through today, I'm going to look like the Carson Wentz MVP bet. I'll tell you that much. Not going to be good.
Yeah, the Elijah side for me.
Okay. Mo Alley Cox or Mo Suburban Cox? Get the fuck out of here, being here. These guys.
Pretty good.
JJ, give me your
I'm a Bean-Air fan.
He's funny. He is one funny dude. Him and Jay, all those guys. We got such a good chat going on. It's a lot of fun. JJ, basically, there's no more questions. Cox or Arnold, I guess, is the next one. I mean, we have a thought on that. I think
it's Arnold's probably a little better play, but Cox is the lower owned play for sure. And I don't think he's a terrible pivot too. If you're looking for just a lower owned tight end, I think he's got touchdown upside, decent spot.
Cole Beasley or Higgins? Ray Gun.
Beasley
easily, right?
Yeah, for me.
Okay. All right, we're 2 minutes from lock. If you guys got another question to throw in there, go for it. Most important question, KMB Squid, papaya punch or garlic starship? Neither. Go with Dolato at 33%, buddy. Go with Dolato. That's the way that you want to go. JJ.
Yes, sir.
I got so many bets in this week. It's not even funny. I think my favorite one's Elijah over 69.5. The other guy I like is Davis Mills. Anytime his prop is over 210, like how are the Texans going to do anything today? This guy stinks. Him and the stiff from the Jets. These two guys just don't belong in the NFL. So
can't blame you.
Thanks for the reply there. JSU, is it time to go to the in-laws?
Boys, I got to drop off big guy's birthday. So 60th.
Ooh,
my girlfriend's father. So
he's young.
60th.
Yeah.
The father-in-law.
We threw him a surprise bash at my house yesterday where we had like all these people here. So he had like his parents flew down from Florida. His niece. I'm sorry.
Great story, JSU. We just locked. Can we get the fuck out of here, please?
Okay, let's get out of here. Yeah.
Time to get us out of here.